If you ever find yourself alone in a house that breathes, don't answer when it knocks. I'm recording this from the attic of the Waverley estate, the one they call Virginia's last haunted mansion. But the history books got it wrong. It isn't haunted. It's occupied. Something is on the other side of the locked door behind me. A door that doesn't exist on the blueprints. It knocks sometimes, slow, deliberate, like it's waiting for me to break another rule. You'll think I'm paranoid until you hear it knock back. I shouldn't have opened the curtains after sundown. I shouldn't have looked at the reflection in the east window. The rules were clear. The rules were meant to keep it calm. It's not a ghost story. It's a warning, because when you break the rules in this house, it doesn't punish you right away. It waits until you forget why they mattered. But it didn't start like this. It started with a job posting and a list of rules. The Carter estate looked like a portrait that refused to fade, sprawling oak staircases, crumbling balconies, and ivy so thick it seemed to be holding the place together, the kind of beauty that only exists in buildings too proud to die. They told me it was a simple caretaker job. Lock up at night, keep the generators running, and never disturb Mrs. Whitcomb. She lived on the 3rd floor, behind a set of oak doors that no one was allowed to open. She values her privacy, they said. The groundskeeper met me at the gates. He handed me the keys without looking up. His hands shook. "Don't stay past dark," he muttered. "And if you hear her calling, don't answer." Then he turned and left before the sun even touched the tree line. They said the last caretaker didn't last a week. I thought that was an exaggeration. Inside, the air felt heavy, like the house was holding its breath. They gave me a list of rules on yellowed paper. I laughed. That was my first mistake. The list was written in looping, delicate handwriting, the kind that belonged to another century. 10 rules in total. Most sounded like something out of an eccentric old woman's bedtime. Ritual. Always greet the portrait in the main hall after sunset. Never open the east wing door. If the music box plays, let it finish. The mirrors on the 2nd floor must stay covered. Never walk the halls between 3 and 3:15 a.m. If you hear Mrs. Whitcomb calling from the hall, check her room first. Smudged, unreadable. The attic must remain locked. The house must never be completely dark. Do not speak to the man in the garden. I remember chuckling. It felt like folklore dressed as safety policy, the kind of thing bored caretakers wrote to spook replacements. At first, the rules felt like superstition. Then, that night, when I greeted the portrait in the main hall, it smiled back. The first night passed quietly, or at least I told myself it did. Around midnight, I did my rounds, candle in hand, its flame trembling with every draught that crept through the walls. When I reached the main hall, I stopped. The portrait, a regal woman in black lace, pearls draped across her throat, seemed to glimmer. The candlelight caught her eyes, but the reflection didn't fade when I moved the flame. It wasn't a trick of the light. It was recognition. The air grew dense, pressing against my chest. Somewhere deep in the house, a low hum began, like the walls were exhaling. I blinked, and when I looked again, her mouth had curved. A faint, knowing smirk. I backed away slowly, refusing to turn my back to her until I was out of the hall. By morning the painting was normal again, lifeless, serene. I found an old caretaker's log in the study later that day. One entry stood out. Day 12, interaction attempt confirmed. That's when the music box started playing on its own. It was 3:15 a.m. when I heard it, a soft, lilting melody drifting through the corridor like a lullaby for the dead. The notes seemed too clear, too deliberate, echoing off the marble floors as if the house itself was humming along. I followed the sound to the parlor. The music box, a tiny gold thing sealed under a glass dome, was spinning on its own. The ballerina twirled slowly, her porcelain face cracked but smiling. When I reached to stop it, the melody faltered. The tune warped, dragging into a sluggish rhythm that thumped in time with my heartbeat. The air around me pulsed alive, angry. Then I saw it, a folded note inside the dome, just beneath the dancer's feet. Let it finish, or it remembers. I stepped back, hands shaking, and watched as the final note hung in the air, vibrating like the end of a whisper. The house didn't like interruption, and it wasn't playing for me. It was playing with me the next morning. I noticed the east wing door was open. I told myself I only wanted to make sure it was secure. That's how curiosity always lies to you. It sounds like responsibility. The east wing smelled of dust and perfume, a strange mix of decay and memory. The air was colder there, heavier somehow, like it remembered what warmth used to feel like. Furniture sat beneath white sheets that sagged like shrouds. But one chair near the fireplace was bare. The cushion still held the shape of someone who'd just stood up. Then came the laughter. Soft at first, then clearer, the sound of glasses clinking, of conversation, like a party happening behind the walls. I pressed my ear against the plaster, and for a moment, I swear I could hear music from the ballroom that hadn't existed in decades. On a dusty table, I found old photographs, the same family from the portraits, smiling stiffly, but one figure standing between them was blurred, smudged beyond recognition. When I came back, Mrs. Whitcomb's door was ajar, and she was standing, facing the wrong way. She didn't turn when I spoke her name, just stood there in her nightgown, hair silver and thin, staring at the wall as if listening to someone else in the room. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm to calm. The house keeps what it's owed. I told her about the open door, the music, the laughter in the east wing. She smiled faintly, as if she'd been waiting for me to notice. "You've broken more than one rule already," she said, "but it's rule 7 you need to fear. Never wake the memory." Her eyes, pale, nearly white, flicked toward the ceiling. This house remembers its caretakers. It remembers everything. She sat back down and whispered something I almost didn't catch. The Carter Pact was never meant for the living. I wanted to ask what that meant, but she waved me away, trembling. "You shouldn't linger," she murmured. "It listens." That night, the mirrors on the second floor began to breathe. The second floor was colder than usual, every step echoing too long, like the sound was being stretched thin. The mirrors were all covered just as the rules demanded. Heavy cloth draped over their frames like mourning veils. But as I passed, the fabric stirred. Once, then again, like something breathing beneath. One slipped loose and fell, shattering the silence. I froze. The mirror beneath was spotless, too clean for its age. My reflection stared back, but behind me stood Mrs. Whitcomb. Her smile was serene, her eyes fixed on mine. I turned. The hallway was empty. My pulse thudded in my ears. The reflection still showed her, standing closer now. Her lips moved before mine did, whispering a phrase that chilled me to the bone. "You broke it. Reflections don't always reflect. Sometimes they record. I reached to recover the mirrors, my hand trembling. That's when I saw my reflection blink, half a second out of sync. I found the missing rule in the cellar, hidden beneath layers of mold and dust, the ink almost eaten away. It read, "If the house calls your name, answer, but not with your voice." The words didn't make sense, not until I heard it. My own name, whispered from the walls, low and patient. The sound wasn't echoing. It was learning, mimicking the way I breathed, the pauses between syllables. That's when I understood the mansion didn't haunt people. It studied them. The house wanted a caretaker because it needed a body to wear. Every rule wasn't just superstition. It was a containment manual, a warning written in someone's blood. I found old records in the office deeds, titles, all stamped with the same seal. Carter Holdings, other estates, all up and down the East Coast, all listed as inactive. They weren't inactive. They were waiting. I tried to leave. The house locked itself. I don't know what day it is anymore. The clocks all stopped sometime after midnight, but I can still hear my own footsteps from somewhere else in the house. I'm recording this from the study, the portrait watching over my shoulder. It's smiling now, wider than before. Every time I blink, my reflection in the mirror keeps typing. It doesn't wait for me anymore. Sometimes it looks up, like it's listening for the next rule. If you ever get offered a caretaker job in Virginia, read the rules. They're not just for the house. They're for you. I can hear my voice echoing from the next room, repeating every word I say a second later, softer, almost tender. The signal keeps flickering, but if this upload stays up, that means the house found WI-V. And if you're still listening, it's already memorizing you. The house doesn't die. It just replaces who forgets the rules.